in the stands. All right, CeCe, you surprised there were no suspensions for either Bennett or Jefferson?
No, absolutely not. I wasn't expecting for them to get suspended. We've seen not necessarily fisticuffs. We've seen scuffles at the end of games where teams are trying to run out the clock. They are doing the kneel formation. We've seen Greg Schiano infamously there in Tampa Bay, which also included Michael Bennett on that team, them playing every play until the end of the whistle, until they end the game. So, no, he's not going to be suspended for that. If Brandon Linder might have gotten hurt, his legs might have gotten rolled up, there might have been some type of suspension for that. But, no, they just started suspending guys for fighting.
Well, that's what I wanted for you to tell the audience about. Like, we don't have to go back to the 90s or even the 2000s. Let's just go back to, like, 3 years ago. Like, entirety of NFL history up until almost this season, certainly the last couple seasons. Mm-hmm. How rare was it for someone to be suspended for something they did on the field during a game?
Very rare. I mean, we've seen guys thrown out of a game, but very rare have they been suspended for fighting, even if they threw punches during the game, that the next game that they were not able to play.
I can think of the instances where guys got suspended for something they did on the field had to be so egregious, like Albert Hainsworth to Andre Gerard. Remember, he kicked his helmet off and then stomped him on the face? He got 5 games for that. But, like, the reason I can recall that so clearly is because for a long time in the NFL, up until really this year, it wouldn't have even been discussion, is Michael Bennett going to be suspended? Like, nobody would have thought Michael Bennett would be suspended.
No, I mean, he didn't do anything that would warrant a suspension. I mean, what did he do?
Well, I mean, it was a dirty play.
Okay, so what?
Right.
We see dirty plays every week.
Right, he'll get fined for it. Let me ask you one other thing, because I know where you...
It was an aggressive, edgy play, and he's an edgy player, all right? He couldn't hurt him because he wasn't far enough away from him, all right? He grabbed his leg from the backside. What was he going to do? Like, how was he going to really hurt him?
When he rolls, he couldn't. You don't think he could have hurt him?
The guy didn't even go to the ground. I mean, Brandon Linder is 310 pounds. Like, no, he wasn't going to hurt him. I think Linder was in good shape there. Like,
okay, all right. Because I think a lot of people look at it and say it was a super dangerous play.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm not going to say that, but yes.
No. No, but what I do want you to say is, because you and I were on the same page on this one, but you have better expertise. Explain to the audience why there's such a distinction between what Michael Bennett did and what Rob Gronkowski did. Because we all called for Rob to be suspended.
The guy was laying out of bounds, all right? He hit him in the head. You can't hit a player in the head during the play or after the play. The guy was defenseless. This was actually during the play, during a melee, all right? It wasn't like they were on separate parts of the field, guy ran over to hit him. No, they were in a combative play. He was trying to snap the ball, Brandon Linder. He was trying to knock the ball out of his hand to cause a fumble exchange between the center and the quarterback. So, no, absolutely not.
All right. Moving on, going into the week, the Patriots and Eagles were the top 2 teams favored to win the Super Bowl, according to Vegas. Then Week 14 happened. Carson Wentz is out for the season, and the Patriots lost to the Dolphins, and Tom Brady started to look ever so slightly mortal. So, Nick, we've reshuffled. Let's revisit. Who should be the Super Bowl favorite as of this morning?
The Pittsburgh Steelers. And second should be the Minnesota Vikings. Then after that, I'd probably have the New Orleans Saints. And then the Rams, and then I'd get to New England. I wouldn't have the Eagles anywhere in the first quarter because I don't think they can do it without Carson Wentz. Like the Steelers now, it's not only that they have the best record in the AFC, it's that they have the clearest path to the critical 1 seed, and the Steelers offensively are very healthy right now. Now, defensively, they suffered a devastating injury. For, you know what I mean, in real life and in football terms, in Ryan Shazier. But offensively, they're very healthy. They, to me, you know, it's funny, we talked about that they have been inconsistent. They have not been overwhelming in their wins, but they've been pretty damn consistent in that they were at one point 3-2, and they're now 11-2. So consistent enough to get 8 straight wins. So I think the Steelers should be the clear favorites in the AFC, and I think Minnesota should be the clear favorites in the NFC.
Yeah, I think that definitely Pittsburgh should be the favorite. Anytime you look at whoever's going to be, if you look at the favorites to win the Super Bowl, you're going to look at who's going to be the 1 and the 2 seeds. because they have to win the least number of games. And if you look at that, you have to look at, okay, let's look at coaches, quarterbacks, who really has home field advantage, things like that. So I would say, yes, today. A lot's changed in the last 48 hours with Carson Wentz, but the people, I'm going to speak for me, all right? The reason why Pittsburgh's been inconsistent has nothing to do with this year. It's been the last 5 years. All right, so when I have a take about Pittsburgh and their inconsistency, has nothing to do with the last 14 weeks of the season. It's what I've seen from the Pittsburgh Steelers since this combination of players have been there, and that has been inconsistency. Defensively, they haven't been able to get to the passer. So those are things, even though they might be the favorite, those are things that I'm worrying about with the Pittsburgh Steelers, let alone their pass coverage. But, yes, they should be if they get the number 1 seed, yes, they should be the favorite. What, they're going to lose at home? Like, they're going to lose. So if New England was the number 1 seed, they would be the favorite. And if Carson Wentz was healthy and them and New England had the same record, I believe that Philadelphia potentially would be the number 1 seed.
I want to say something about the number 1 seed and New England and Pittsburgh, because people are going to talk about last night's game and how bad of a loss it was for New England. If they beat Pittsburgh, they're fine.
Yeah,
if they beat Pittsburgh, they have the tiebreaker with the same record with 2 games to go. They will be in position to be the number 1 seed. However, what last night's game did for New England is if they lose to Pittsburgh, they are mathematically eliminated from being the number 1 seed. If they lose to Pittsburgh, they likely wake up Monday morning as the number 3 seed without even a bye. And one thing we know about New England, they've never, win a Super Bowl. They've never made a Super Bowl under the Brady-Belichick regime without at least having a bye, being one of the top 2 seeds.
And if the Eagles beat the Giants this week?
What about?
They have to win
1 more, right? So
2.
it'd be 2 more, and then they lock up
Yes.
that 1 seed. And you think they'd be in okay shape with Nick Foles if they can lock up that 1 seed?
Oh, absolutely. I believe they can go to the Super Bowl. It's them and the Vikings, the best 2 teams in the NFC. So yes, they're still alive, regardless of what Nick Wright thinks.
We'll see. We'll see. I got them down there tonight with the Chargers.
Could we have our first non-quarterback MVP since 2012? That answer might surprise you.